The next story you're going to be invited into is the story of a man's journey through his own storm. His own experience of being at the mercy of the waves of the sea just rising up around him. And how that put him at odds with what his understanding of what it was to be a man. To not show weakness, to not show fear, to not admit defeat, to ask for help. All of those things ran counter to his understanding of what it was to be a man. And so I want to invite you in today to hear more about his story, his journey through his storm of depression. Check it out.
You got a wife, and you have two awesome kids. Say a little bit about your family.
I can't say a little bit about my family because they're just fantastic. My wife is accomplished therapist and social worker and has 2 MBAs, and she hates it when I brag on her, but I think she's a rock star.
She is.
Both my kids are rock stars, probably because of my wife, not me. But they were great kids, and they're great adults.
Yeah.
They're almost 28 and almost 31. So.
Almost 31, almost 28. Let's hit the rewind button in life. Let's go back to Ralph, early to mid-20s. You're 25 years old. What would the 25-year-old Ralph, how would he understand the word hope?
Well, when I was 25, I was John Wayne. Even though I was active in church and God-fearing Christian and all that, I was about me, and I thought I did it all. You know, God was along for the ride, and I didn't need hope. I was fine running my own show, I thought.
You know, you think about words like disappointment, disillusionment, depression. When you hear those words, does that connect with you at all?
Absolutely. Anybody who would use those words were snowflakes. You know, suck it up, get over it. You know, suck it up, buttercup. Yeah. I thought it was weakness, and you just not trying hard enough, or you're just dwelling on yourself and you're being selfish, and just suck it up and get over it. And I found out different. When I think of those words, I think of worthlessness, loneliness, darkness, despair.
So what was that that sent you into this space of darkness? What had happened?
It's death by 1,000 cuts. You don't just wake up one day and you're depressed. It's just kind of a going down steps. Yeah. And before you know it, you're pond scum. I mean, you feel lower than the low, and you don't feel like that anybody's life benefits from you. And then you look up and you look at all the things you should be grateful for, but then you feel worse because why do I feel this way with everything going so well? You know, everything's hunky-dory in my outside of my body, and it just doesn't work that way. It's doesn't happen in a day, and you don't get over it in a day. About 3 years ago, I had a complete nervous breakdown. I mean, full-fledged, almost catatonic. I tried to pin it on one thing for a long time. You know, like this was the problem. You know, that was the problem. When it really started getting bad, I had lost my brother-in-law, had a nephew that committed suicide. Not long before that, I'd lost my mother. My father-in-law died. My dad died. I had a latent memory come back from when I was 4 about being abused when I was a child. It was just the perfect storm. Would sleep for days. I couldn't work. There was a point where if I got up and did laundry, that was a good day. It got so bad that I considered taking my life, and almost did it. And I ended up sending a 911 to my Jordan and Katie and Kim, and they got on their horses and rode in and got me help, and I ended up going to rehab. I did therapy. I went to every doctor in the world to find out what was wrong.
Where was that point for you where you started to feel like Okay, I'm not out of the woods, but I can see a future. I'm starting to have hope.
It's hard to pinpoint because one of the things that having a breakdown does and depression does is it kind of wipes your memory. So chronologically, it's hard to answer that. But there's an old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Mm-hmm. It looks like I'm going to be an elephant the rest of my life. I'm not out of the woods. I mean, nobody is ever out of the woods. You got to stay on top of it. Depression is not your fault. It's chemical. Yeah. The brain is an amazing organ, and there's so many things that can be happening, just need to be tweaked. And antidepressants, I'll be on them for the rest of my life probably. That's fine. I mean, if I was diabetic, I'd take insulin. I mean, you do what you got to do.
So it sounds like you had some misconceptions about what it meant to suffer from severe depression, it sounds like, to get to the level that you were, to really, really struggle.
I was the kind of person that I would spend a day building a third hand so I could do a task when I could have called Chris, hey, could you come over and hold this for me? And we'd be done in 15 minutes. Yeah. I would not accept help, and that was just kind of the way I was raised. My dad was that way. And that's wrong. I mean, you're not less of a man because you ask for help.
It sounds like now you have meaning of the word hope. Hope is now a word in your
absolutely.
Vocabulary. Gratitude is a word in your vocabulary. Humility is an important word for you. These are things that I'm picking up on you that maybe wasn't so prominent in your 25-year-old self.
Yeah. Well, I'm more like the Andy Griffith now than John Wayne.
Andy Griffith. I like Andy Griffith.
Yeah, he's still a man, but he does things the right way, the soft way.
We give Ralph a hand. What amazes me about his story, I've known Ralph for a good 15 plus years, known him well. And during this season of his life, I'd see him often. And I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. And it's a reminder for all of us in the space that we find ourselves in. As you look around, you don't know what's behind that smile, what's behind those eyes, what they're carrying. And so I invite you, as you visit with each other, linger for just a moment, longer than you normally would in that conversation with that person, just to create the opportunity for them to offer something that they're not quite ready, but they need to, because you just don't know. You just don't know. Ralph, thank you for inviting all of us into your story. It's a powerful story. I continue to learn a lot from you. Imagine for a moment you're talking to your son Jordan. You're talking to all the young men out there, anybody that might be struggling in a place where you were. What's one thing that you want us to hold on to? You want us to walk away from the space with this one thing. What would that be?
Well, there's a lot of things, but us men are sneaky, and we don't want to let anybody in to our weakness. And we're pretty good at hiding it. But I would encourage you to find somebody that you trust, your spouse, a friend, one of your children, if they're old enough to be that kind of person for you, a pastor, doctor, somebody, but reach out and show your weakness and get some help. I hit rock bottom and I had to ask for help. And remember that the person that is in this place, that, like I said in the video, I couldn't even do laundry in a day. I'm not about to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. There's no way I could have done that. But I had a support system. I was very blessed with a great support system. And you've got to show your soul to somebody and let them carry you. And that's the first step. So just go out there and take a bite of that elephant, because you'll get it eaten eventually, and you'll be better for it.
One of the strongest things a person can do, and Ralph is continuing to teach this to me, one of the strongest things you can do is to admit your weakness, to admit that you need help, and to admit that you can't do it by yourself. You can't. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to invite people in to help carry you when you need it. It takes a lot of strength to do that, and Ralph taught us that. So Ralph, thank you for inviting us in.
Thank you. Also, I want to say one more thing. You got to have God first, or you won't make it. But you also need somebody with skin on them to help you, to be a vehicle for God. And I just appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. If we can just help one person, that validates to me how God let me go through this hell and come out on the other side and maybe save one person. So I hope you've been blessed today.
Amen.
Love y'all.
Love you, brother.